All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. Now, Bangladesh's chief advisor, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, is expected to address the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly on the 27th of September. The address is believed to be focused on the heroic and the courageous aspects of the student movement in unseating the Sheikh Hasina government in the country. But weeks after the protest, there is still no end to the violence that is rolling the country. Reports, in fact, state that while some of it is targeted at the minority communities, people who are seen close to the erstwhile government have been targeted. On Friday, members of Bangladesh's minority community who have been at the receiving end of the violence that took out this protest march in central Dhaka. They've put forth 8 demands, including the prosecution of people involved in violence across Bangladesh. The demonstrators have alleged that the Bangladeshi government's advisors have failed to fulfill their promise to end the violence. They've also stated that Hindus are not able to live peacefully. Now, ethnic tensions have escalated in Bangladesh's Chittagong hill tracts. 4 people were killed and dozens of others were injured in the clashes in the Dighi Nala area of the Khagrachari district. Now, the authorities have deployed additional force and have banned large gatherings in the area. The violence, of course, began after a resident was allegedly beaten to death on accusations of stealing a motorcycle. Now, the mob lynching triggered subsequent clashes between the two communities, resulting in at least about 102 shops being set ablaze. And clashes have also erupted between two groups at a mosque in Dhaka. At least 50 people are said to have sustained injuries at the Baitul Mukarram National Mosque. The reports have stated that the incident in fact took place between the followers of the current and a former khatib who leads the prayers at the mosque. Soon afterwards, the Bangladeshi police and the army personnel arrived at the site to disperse the crowd and to ease the tension. It is being reported that the prayer leader who returned to the mosque had earlier fled after Sheikh Hasina's Awami League government had fallen. At least about 21 people have been lynched across Bangladesh since Sheikh Hasina's ouster. And mob lynchings have claimed about 32 lives between January and June this year during Sheikh Hasina's tenure. So mob lynchings have been happening even when Sheikh Hasina had been in charge in Dhaka as well. In another case of mob violence, about 2 men were beaten to death in a span of 3 hours on the intervening night of Wednesday and Thursday at the country's top 2 universities, while a group of Dhaka University students allegedly killed one person. A former student leader belonging to Sheikh Hasina's party was beaten to death at the Jahangir Nagar University. Now, in a bid to ensure calm, the Dhaka University has banned all political activities on the university campus. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is, of course, happening at this moment in Bangladesh, we're being joined by Mr. Parvez Karim Abbasi, who is a geopolitical analyst and also assistant professor at the East West University. He's joining us live from Dhaka. Professor Abbasi, let me in fact start off by asking you this. Now, it's been weeks since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, but why is it that there is still, a lot of unrest that is being witnessed on the streets, and why is it that students are said to be involved in incidents of lynchings that have taken place?
Well, thank you for inviting me to the program. I was listening to your coverage. First of all, again, without condoning these acts of violence, one has to look into the context. What you had was for the longest period of time, 15 and a half years of rule by Sheikh Hasina. And in the last 2 or 3 elections, that in fact the 2014 elections, the 2019 elections, and the 2024 elections were blatantly rigged as per international media coverage. Now, what has happened over here that, again, her government had imploded, again, It was a spontaneous movement, but it had a root cause of economic grievances, in terms of, again, deterioration of law and order, and again, lawlessness in terms of ruling party hooligans. I know that you get to hear this far often than not, but I'm just giving you the background. And again, the students who had spearheaded the movement against discriminatory quotas, they were fired upon, and hundreds of students and innocent bystanders were killed. And when it had flared up, because it was bottled up, and in the last 4 or 5 years, again, the former prime minister had lost any touch with reality. What had happened was there was an implosion. And now what has happened right now is that the institutions such as the law enforcement, the bureaucracy, the judiciary, which has been heavily politicized, which has been sycophantic, now that has been discredited. So what we have is an interim government. It's a government in transition. And despite efforts, one of the reasons why you can see so much of coverage coming out of Dhaka is, one, that the interim government is not trying to suppress any information. They are not trying to curb the flow of information. So that's why you are seeing, again, situations of lawlessness and violence. The situation has improved to a certain extent in Dhaka. And what is heartening is that the armed forces have been given magistracy power. That means they have the right to carry out, again, summary arrests if the situation, if the law and order is deteriorating. So this period of transition from 15 and a half years of institutionalized anarchy to an alternative system, which would hopefully lead to a free and fair elections, this is chaotic in the best of times. And again, what is heartening to see, what is encouraging to see, is that the advisors have come out and spoken against lynchings or against targeting of certain elements of the minority community. So at least...
Professor Abbasi, I need to interject here. I think you've made a fair point. You've said that there is a lot of pent-up anger against the Sheikh Hasina government. But the fact is, she's not been in charge in Dhaka for more than a month now. And Muhammad Yunus is the man who's in charge. Unless he can put a lid on these incidents of violence that have targeted the minorities, that have targeted people, even, let's say, of the opposition, he is not going to be able to control the situation if he allows these violent incidents to continue to fester. Why is it that even a month since the Sheikh Hasina's ouster, that there are incidents of violence that have still continued? Is this not a question that people in Bangladesh should be asking?
Yes, and in this democratic environment, people are pointing this out. People are criticizing the government. But as we have already seen, that again, I do not represent the caretaker government. And again, only those people who have been involved in Army League's despotic rule, they have been targeted. But yes, often people with political vendettas, people with personal vendettas, they have also taken advantage of this. The lawlessness has been increased. And yes, this is probably a litmus test of Dr. Yunus's government. And I'd just like to add as a context that, again, in a nation of 174 to nearly 180 million people in the throes of an economic crisis, restoring law and order and stability would take some time. So the people of Bangladesh have high hopes on the interim government. And as you've said, that Hasina has been away for a month. It's only a month, as opposed to 15 and a half years. It will take some time. But the intent of the government, no one is questioning. But in terms of implementation, it is there. And I'm just if you just
very quickly.
Yes, the analogy is that, again, if you have trouble in Chittagong Hill Tracts, or for example, if you're having trouble right now in Manipur, or if you have incidents of riot, that doesn't mean entire India is descending into chaos. So it will take some time, but again, I believe that Bangladesh would find its feet. And of course, law and order and ensuring the rights of everyone is of paramount importance.
All right, I think you've made your point, but the fact is, at this moment, Muhammad Yunus is the man who's in charge, and he'll be judged on the basis of how quickly he can actually bring things under control. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Abbasi, for joining us and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.